mobile white. I can't mobile white. I can't friend mobile white. Afatumata Lord of Selima. Afatumata Lord of Selima. Afatumata Lord of Selima. Afatumata Lord of Selima. Itaina lateko belakane. Itaina lateko belakane. Fatumata ikani mini duya tela. Fatumata ikani mini duya kola. Alakalo kumikela. Alakalo kumikela. Alakalo kumikela. Alakalo kumikela.
Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. You are watching Roundtable Africa. I am Sekou Kele, your host, and I'm here. I'm very happy to bring you this edition of our broadcast, a special broadcast today. And in studio here with me is our guest, Brother Sidiki Kamara, and our topic for today is the Ngo script. The Ngo script is a writing system in West Africa that is well known by the academia world, and we want to review the script to you today and what benefit it is to our society and our community. And so far, I don't know what's wrong with my something here. So the Ngo script is what we are discussing here today with our brother Sidiki Kamara. Brother Kamara, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kele, for having me.
All right. Before we go in with the first question, Brother Kamara, I would like to introduce you first to our audience. I believe the last time you came on this show, we actually jumped over that. We didn't introduce you properly, so I would like to do it now for the sake of our audience. So our guest here today, Brother Sidiki B. Kamara, is a Liberian researcher, a cultural activist, and an author. He is the Executive Director of Africa Development Alliance, a Pan-African training research consultancy based in Monrovia, Liberia. A former technical intern at the African Union headquarters in Ethiopia. Brother Sidiki Kamara, once again, we are happy to have you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, my dear brother.
We are discussing a very important topic today, brother, the Nko script. First of all, the people want to know what is a script, because whenever you talk about writing system, people always mention the word script. So what is a script? Can you first define that for us?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, before I get to script, I will first of all get to what inspired the concept of a script. So from the very beginning of humanity, we had different stages of development. Human beings had different stages of development. There was a period in time in our development where we didn't wear the clothes we wear today. We kill animals and use the skin as our clothing. We migrated from that stage of hunting and using the meat of the animal to eat and the skin to cover our body to a different phase. So we started to develop. So our historical development as a human community, a global human community, naturally ignited some changes. There were some new demands at different stage of our development. There were some new demands, and those new demands necessitated new inventions and new innovations, and those inventions were eventually developed upon by other people. So that brings me to the whole concept of a script. The very first time that human beings conceived the idea of transmitting their intentions or transmitting their speech or transcribing their speech in a form that another person can understand without the original, without the messenger talking, without the messenger talking, it was through the development of the hieroglyphic in ancient Egypt. Because there are several ways to communicate. I can communicate by speaking to you like I'm doing now. You are hearing my voice and you're understanding what I'm saying. Another way I can communicate is by throwing sound. If I wave my hand, you know that I'm greeting you. If I shake my index finger, you know that I'm saying no. If I gesture like this to you, you know I'm saying that you should come. So I don't have to speak to do that. I just should throw some signs, and those signs will communicate what I want you to know, and you will take heed even though I didn't speak. So that's how human development has been. So the fact that we could communicate without speaking, and even tapping your eye, even by throwing sign with your eye or shaking your head, nodding your head means you are in agreement. Shaking your head means you are not in agreement. All of those things are methods of communication without speaking. So all of those culminated together inspire another form of communication. That if we can use sign language to communicate, and we can vocalize our speech and be understood, and the message is transferred. What if we want to send similar message to a faraway person, or want to store similar message for another generation to come and have access to it and decipher it? We have to come up with a way of doing that. So the ancient Egyptians used hieroglyphic, which were basically pictorial symbols of things that they used to communicate message to other people. And eventually, the Phoenicians came. We wouldn't want to call the hieroglyphic a script, but it is the mother of scripts, because all scripts that we have today, the whole concept came from hieroglyphic. But the hieroglyphics serve the same purpose that these scripts, as we know them to be, are doing. So hieroglyphic, it can both be a script, and it can also be a pictorial design of concepts to communicate. Now the Egyptians further developed the hieroglyphic into good writing system where they could be able to use to communicate with one another, to develop science and technology. Now, according to record, the Greeks, the Phoenicians came and took that concept of writing from the Egyptians and took it to the Middle East, and took it to Lebanon, what is now known as Lebanon. There was no Lebanon, and developed it and added 1 or 2 characters. The Greeks took it from the Phoenicians and developed it and added some more characters. I think it went up to 25. And later the Romans developed it into what we have today as the Latin alphabet. So the script is a design by man to transcribe his feelings, his signs, his thoughts, his belief into writing, into a written form, for another person to come and be able to read and understand it without the original writer being present, or without the original writer having to vocalize or explain to him or her what he has written. So that's the whole concept of a script. So a means of transcribing your thoughts and your emotions, your beliefs on paper or on a piece of wood or on a wall or to whatever medium, and make it visible and available for the next person to be able to read and understand.
Thank you very much, Brother Siddiqui, for that brilliant definition of a script. So if I hear you right, you said that a script is a system of, is a distinct symbol designated to represent sound, words, and ideas in a particular language. So this is very, very important to understand this definition. So we are discussing the Ngo script, and this script we know today is used by so many people around West Africa, and this Ngo script has been described as one of the best script that is being used today in West Africa. Tell us a little bit about this script. Who invented the Ngo script and why?
That's a very good question. The Ngo script was invented April 14, 1949 by a West African philosopher, scientist, historian, lexicographer, encyclopedist, Solomon Kante. Solomon Kante was a revolutionary Pan-African trader. So Solomon Kante, his ancestors migrated from what is currently known as the Republic of Mali. His grandfather Hamidou Kante migrated from what is known as Mali and settled in what is known today as the Republic of Guinea. By the time there was no Guinea, no Mali, no Sierra Leone, no Liberia, it was just our African territories. In fact, it was part of the Mande Empire. At the time, it was part of the Mandingo Empire that was being built by Admami Samori Toure. So his grandfather traveled from what is currently Mali to Guinea, and he was there. He has some children. He got married. He had some kids. In fact, he brought some of his kids with him from Mali. And his children, one of his sons was called Musa. And Musa had other children, and one of them was Amara. Now, Amara was Solomon Kante's father. Solomon Kante's father was a great scholar. He was a Fudi. In Mandingo, the word Fudi represents scholar. It means scholar. He was a Fudi, he was a great scholar, or Karamoa, which means teacher. So he had about between 400 to 700 students. So one of the distinct qualities about Karamoa Amara Kante was that he never accepted fee for teaching children as his contemporaries would do. So usually when people send their children to these great scholars or these Islamic scholars or whoever, maybe it's just the concept of sophism, like in ancient Rome or in ancient Greece. So people would normally send some money or some crops or some food, or they will just send some support to the teacher as compensation for teaching their children. So the distinct quality about Kama Amara Kante was that he didn't accept payment for teaching between 400 to 700 children. He said that he wants God, he didn't want one request. He wants God to make his children scholars. He wouldn't want his children to be scholars. So when he asked him why you wouldn't collect anything, he said, no, I want God to make my children to be geniuses and scholars. That's what I want. So because of that, I will teach other people's children free of charge. So God helped. God was so rewarding. One of his sons, Solomon Akante, who was at a very tender age, decided to repeat all of the lessons his father would teach the older students. So at a very tender age, he started to repeat all of those lessons. So everyone became concerned that this child would be great. So he was very bright from a very tender age. To cut long story short, his birth was predicted. And that's a whole long story. But what is of interest to us right now is that when his father died, he and his brothers were in charge of the school, but later his brother said that he should be in charge of the school, even though he was a younger one, he was the youngest. At some point, he had to go and start to do some trade to earn income for the family. He said he had to go around to do some trade. So he was trading in cola nuts. He went to Ivory Coast. When he went to he used to go to Ivory Coast and Ghana and other parts of West Africa, trading in cola nuts in Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and all around the place. So one day, while in Ivory Coast, he saw a newspaper. In fact, it was a book, but it had excerpts of the book in a magazine, a Lebanese magazine. So the Lebanese would come and sell the magazine to inform the other Lebanese about the nature of the African society and how the Africans think and what they know about the African history. So he bought the magazine because his father was a great scholar. He had learned how to speak Arabic. He was taught by his father to speak Arabic. He could read anything written in Arabic. He could interpret the Quran word for word. So he read the magazine. He said, now in Africa, we are in Africa, written by a Lebanese guy called Kamar Marwa. So he thought he get a lot of summary information about Africa, and later he said, the Africans are like birds. They don't have any languages to speak. They all speak dialects. So, and their speeches are not stored. Their ideas are not stored. So when birds gather, they talk and they just fly away. There's no record of what they have said. So the Africans are like birds. There's no record of what they have said. They only talk and leave. Their minds, their opinions, their sentiments, their feelings cannot be stored because their languages, they don't have any languages. They only have dialects that they speak among themselves. So when he read that, according to him in his book, when he read that, he was upset. He was so angry. He didn't eat that whole day. He didn't eat that evening. So he was so worried and concerned. Why would someone dare to say something derogatory like that about the African people who have birthed civilization and exported it to the rest of the world? So why would anyone be so naive to say that? So right from that point, he started to find ways and means to prove that a Lebanese author wrong. So being a scholar of the Quran, a scholar of Islam, or a speaker of Arabic, a writer of Arabic, he decided to use the Arab script, the Arabic script, to write Ngo. He wanted to start with his own language, which is Mandingo, which is Ngo. So he used that for 3 years. He used the Arabic script to write Ngo for 3 years. But he noticed that the Arabic script was not capable of transcribing the tonality of Ngo. The African languages are very tonal. You know, the tone that you make, the sound you make matters. So, and we have a lot of vowels in our languages. And Arabic does not consider too many vowels. Arabic is, in fact, all consonants. They only have 3 vowels, and they don't use those vowels regularly. So in Arabic, they mainly use consonants. They have less use for vowels. And our African languages, They have great use for vowels. So he used Arabic to write Ngo. He realized that two sentences could mean, one sentence could be read by one person with a different meaning. The same sentence is read by another person with a different meaning. The same sentence is read by, because the tune you will make will change the meaning of the sentence. One good example is in Mandingo, when I say Ngiyeye, it means that I shouldn't see you there, Ngiyeye. But when I also say Ngiyeye, it means I saw you there. So you see, the two sentences are very similar. When I say Ngiyeye, it means I shouldn't see you there. When I say Ngiyeye, it means I saw you there. They all sound the same. Is the way I will do my voice with the two Ngi. When I say Ngi and Ngi, the meaning of the sentence will change. When I say Ngiyeye and Ngiyeye, the meaning of the sentence will change. So because of those kind of tonal complications in the language, and the fact that Arabic did not accommodate that kind of structure our language has, especially in Go. So he after using it for 4 years, he moved to the 3 years. He moved to the Latin script, because he also learned French. He could write French. He could communicate in French. So he used the Latin script for 2 years to write our language, and he realized that the Latin script was also incapable of transcribing the tonality of our language. For example, if we say, he himself gave this example in his book. If we say, Masaule lanin to la sunolo ka konogbe. And you say Masaule lanin to la sunolo ka konogbe. So the two konogbe there, depending on how you use it, it would mean it is kings that are usually sleeping. They are usually sleeping while they drive bread, or while they protect themselves, or while they konogbe means to drive bread literally, but the concept is to protect themselves. When you use it with different tone, the same sentence, it means they are sleeping and someone is protecting them, not they themselves. But depending how you do your tone, the meaning of the sentence will change. So because of those complications, he invented a script following the tradition of his ancestors. Because way back in Mande, before the founding of the Mande Empire, before Sumaworo Kante was born, there was a writing system in Mande, in ancient Mande. So before the Soso Empire was established, that is because it has 6 different Sumaworo. So when people talk about Sumanguru, everyone thinks about the one that was contemporaneous with Sunjata.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Yeah, I didn't cut you off. I just want to buttress, some of the points you just raised, that historical narratives that you just gave us. Here is this a man in West Africa in the 70s, right? Is the 60s?
He was born in 1922, and this conversation is happening in the 1940s.
In the 1940s, going around, and he come across a news article written in Arabic, where an Arab, someone from Lebanon, is saying that Africans do not have a language, and in fact their language, if at all they have one, cannot be written because they speak like birds. They just make sound that are not structured, that don't have any rules, that don't have there's no vocabulary. So they just open their mouths and make sound. Such a ridiculous, racist way of describing a people. Now, this narrative is very interesting because that shows you how little people know about African history. Like you rightly mentioned, you went back to the origin. We have here, I enumerated some of the older writing system in the history of the continent. The Proto-Saharan script alone is 5,000 BC in Africa. It's a writing system. The Heiroglyphs, which the Egyptians used, the ancient Egyptian, 3,200 BC, okay, where they wrote some of the older texts, okay, on a lot of things, on mathematics, on science, on spirituality. You had the Meroitic script in Sudan. This is 800 BC. That has not even been deciphered yet because people cannot read it. Okay, the Ge'ez script used by the Berbers the Ethiopians, is 400 BC. It's still being used today. The phonic script used by the barbarous people is 300 BC. Then you had the Vile script, which is another form of the old Mande script that is still being used, about 300 BC or so. That one was also founded. So you can see that all these scripts exist in Africa. These writing systems are on the continent. But people just assume that there was no writing, that writing came when white people arrived. Of course, there were so many parts of the continent where people did not write. But it's a complete lie to assume that there was no writing. And then all of a sudden, white people came and then they brought writing to Africa. The education system are so indoctrinated that even some Africans believe that. Okay, they are not aware of all this script. So it's interesting that Suleiman Kante, the gene in his body again could not accept this derogatory remarks made by the Arab, and he decided that he will invent a script in his own language that will be different from the Latin alphabet, from the Arabic alphabet, that will be able to demonstrate to people that we have the intellectual capacity to do whatever other people have done. So it's very interesting how he took up the challenge. So you can continue on, but I just wanted to point out that historical inaccuracy that many people think that there was no writing or Africans have not written anything before Europeans. Pure lie.
That's a very, very, very interesting interjection, and I really appreciate some of the information you gave, some of which were unknown to me. And in fact, during my short stay in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, the gear script we talk about, I was one of those who were really excited that the Ethiopians were using their own language for professional activities. I always visited the University of Addis Ababa just to see the people teaching in their own languages. And it's not only in Aramaic, in Amharic. Across other regions in Ethiopia, they teach in Oromo, they teach in Tigray, they teach in Gurage and other languages. So there is a very progressive Pan-African society. I was so impressed with the education system there. Yeah, so back to the topic. The ancient Ghana Empire, in the Ghana Empire, they will appoint governors, because our Sonike cousins, they will appoint governors in Mandingo, they will appoint caretakers in other territory. They were not present, but those governors were subject to the command of the king of the Ghana Empire. So the ancient Solomana Kante, which the Mandingo calls not Solomana, Sumanguru Kante, ancient Sumanguru Kante, which the Mandingo calls Sumanguru Koroba, which means the old Sumanguru. He was one of the governors for the Ghana Empire in a territory in Mandingo called So-Sanso, which means a place where you go and buy horse. So is horse. So-Sanso means a place that you buy horse. So later they call it So-So. So it was a town which is today in Malay called Beredu, because when Sundiata attacked the town, he destroyed it and made it out of pebbles. So Bere is pebbles, so the town is still existing in Mali, they call it Beredu. So that territory, that town is where Sumanguru Kante, the old one, was there as governor of the Ghana Empire. So now they had something called Dotu, which is the traditional learning system in the traditional bush. So they go in a traditional college, I'll call it a traditional college, because they did medicine, they did operation, they did surgery in that place. They did not just go to teach manhood training and womanhood training. They did a lot of scientific work there. So Sumanguro, the old Sumanguro was a chief medical doctor. He trained so many people from across the territory, including Ghana Empire. People who send their children from the Ghana Empire to the Dotu. And interestingly, in the Dotu, they had a writing system. But the writing system only restricted to the members of the Dotu. You had to be in the area to learn that script. So up to now, Solomon Kante, in fact, he referenced some of the signs of that writing system in his book. He talked about some of the signs and interpreted them. So he was able to decipher some of the writings the people did in the Dotu in ancient Mandingo. That was, we're talking several hundred years before before Sunjata Keita.
Wow, that's very interesting. So I never heard this before. So you mean Suleiman Kante was actually able to discover an older writing system, belonging to Ghana Empire, Wagadu.
Not Ghana Empire, belonging to us, to Mande Empire.
To the Mande Empire. Okay, that's interesting.
And not just the Mande Empire, but his ancestor directly, because he's Kante, and I'm talking about Sumanguru Kante, the old Sumanguru Kante. So
right,
his ancestor.
Right.
So Sumanguru Kante had this writing system. He was a scholar, he was a medical doctor. So he had a medical program for 900 trees. So 900 trees, every student of his had to learn each of those 900 trees, what it will be used for, what are the leaves used for, what the roots are used for, what is the flower of the tree used for, if it is producing some fruit, and what is the back of the tree used for. So every single student have to study every single one of the 900 trees before you are awarded a medical degree. And the reason for that is that they use those trees for treatment. They will treat any kind of condition, and they will use the tree for also operation to stabilize patients, to do so many other things. So they had 900 trees and different small herbs. So you have to complete that course over a period of several years, depending on how serious you are. So people will send their children also medical college. So I reference it in one of my writings as a medical college. So this writing system they use there to teach, to record their lessons, to teach. In fact, they have road signs, which Suleiman Kante talked about in his book. When you're walking and you're coming to the Dotu, he will show the sign and interpret in Go. He said what that meant. And there were still people in Mandingo who understood that script, because there was a secret society medical training program. You know, it was not general, it was not open to the public except you went and enrolled in it. So there were still people who were living, who understood those signs, who could interpret. So he documented those things. So when you walk in, you'll see a sign on a road. When you see the sign, those that are among you that are that graduated from the medical college, they will interpret the sign. When they see the sign, they'll say, we can't go there. The bridge there is broken. We can't go in that direction. They'll say, how you got to know? They say, I'm from the medical college, and there we have a rating system. So one of our colleagues probably went there and saw that the bridge is broken. So he has written that the bridge is broken. So we can use this road. And you'll be walking in the forest, you'll see a writing on the ground that place is snaky. You have too many snakes there. So someone who knows the script will read and say that place is dangerous. We can't go there. I've seen it from the writing.
Yeah. So to just to interject a little bit. So are you saying that this Ngo alphabet that we have was inspired by some of the graffitis and ancient writing system that already existed in Mande Empire?
Exactly. So there were multiple sources of inspiration. Okay. One obvious source of inspiration was the racist or characterization of the Africans by this racist Arab writer called Marwa. Mm-hmm. So that was one source of inspiration. Because again, that it's important to mention that in Marwa's onslaught, in his attack against Africans, only one group of Africans he praised, which were the VAR. The VAR, who happen to be the Mandingo people, like you said. They are a subset of the Mandingo ethnic group. So he praised them. Mandingo. So he praised them for their writing system because they are a Mandingo group. They are a Mandingo ethnic group. So he praised them. He said, except for the VAR, who have a script to transcribe their thoughts, all the other Africans, they talk like birds. So it's good that you brought some of these facts that besides the VAR people, there were other scripts that he probably even did not know or chose to ignore in order to launch his racist attack. So back to the writing system in Mande that Sumaru used in the medical college for so many hundreds of years. So inspired by the combination of all of these things, Suleiman Kante decided to invent a writing system that is capable of transcribing not just Ngo, not just the writing, the sound of Ngo, or the sound made by the Ngo speaking people, but capable of transcribing all African languages, because it took into consideration the tonality of the African languages, the tonal nature of the African languages. That's why I'm going to take into consideration. So the script is at the service of all African languages. In fact, all languages in the world, because Ngo is just interested in the sound you make. You can make a German sound, an English sound, a Russian sound.
Okay, so let's show our audience few slides here of this script we are talking about. So, Brother Kamara, can you vocalize this alphabet for us? Because
absolutely.
I believe these are the alphabet of the Ngo. So, can you vocalize some of these characters for us? So, begin.
Sure.
Yeah.
The heading says Ngo Sebesun Sebede Mo Ani Wolovla. So the heading that is in the cycle up there, it says Ngo Sebesun Sebede Mo Ani Wolovla, which means the 27 letters of the Ngo alphabet. Sebesun means alphabet. Sebede means letter. Then Mo Ani Wolovla means 27. Ngo, obviously is the language of the Mande people. Ngo has two meanings. That's where the confusion usually comes from. I'm sure you're going to get to that question. What's the actual meaning of the Ngo script? So I don't want to jump the gun.
Right.
But yeah. So Ngo Sebesun Sebede Mo Ani Wolovla. A, E, I, U, O, Ba, Ta, Ja, Cha, Da, Ra, Flanu, Sa, Ba, Fa, Ta, La, Ma, Nya, Na, Ha, Wa, Ya, So those are the letters of the alphabet. The honor there will have Ngo Jatedenu. These are the numbers. Jateden means numbers. Ngo Jatedenu. Kilenfila Saba Nani Lulu Wala say Kono Ani Dokolo. So Dokolo means zero. So Dokolo is the word for zero.
Okay. This is very interesting. So another thing, the next question here that many people want to know, including myself, is how is the Ngo script different from Arabic and the Latin alphabet? Because there are people who are saying that Suleiman Kante just picked up Arabic characters, that most of these characters in Ngo, they are Arabic. And then some say, well, how is this even different from the Latin alphabet? Like, well, you already explained that already, that these alphabet, the Latin alphabet and the Arabic alphabet, cannot really transcribe some of the sounds that we make, some of the tune that we make in our language. So it's not easy to use them. So that's why he invented this. But how are they different, and how did he come about it? Even though there you mentioned that there were some older script and what have you, but it's not easy. In fact, someone said the most difficult thing to do is to invent a writing system. It's very difficult because it requires a lot of research. It requires the symbols that you're going to use. The alphabet we are using today, called the Latin alphabet, it took thousands of years to arrive at this point. Okay, if you go by the Greek, did not write it like this. The Roman did not write it this way. It kept changing and changing and changing until we have the version that we have here today. So how did one man sit behind within his own lifetime come up with an entire alphabet with all the vowels and all the syllable sounds and put them together within his lifetime? How did he do this? And how is it different from Arabic? That's what I want to get across too.
That's a very important question because it put us on the integrity of the author and integrity of the script itself. So that's a very important question. But I would just like to add that all of this is happening. This guy is in his early 20s or in his mid 20s. He's about 25 years of age. Because he was born in 1922. And now he's having all of these interactions in Ivory Coast with all these guys around 1940, 41. So he at the age of 22, he had this encounter with this racist writing. So a 22-year-old young man is going through all of these struggles and trying to figure out what can I do to prove these people wrong and to pull my race out of this perception of not having script or not capable of writing their own languages. So this is very important because he's a young man, not an old man at the time, very youthful. and having the desire, having the anger in him because his race, his people are being insulted. So that's very important. We don't support racism in any way. We don't support race rage. We don't support rage, but his kind of rage, which is not to retaliate with violence, but to invent something, that kind of benefits everyone. So yeah, specifically to the question about how is it different from Arabic script? All you have to do is to take something written in Go and something written in English and something written in Arabic and compare them. No three things could be more different. They're very different. And in terms of the sounds, no one has copyright to any sound. The sounds are sounds that we use when we communicate. So to transcribe, to create characters for those sounds, no one, for example, when I say ka, in Mandingo, ka is a sound in Mandingo, ka. When I say ba is a sound. Ta is a sound. In German, ta is a sound. So when I say ta and find a transcription for ta is not, if ta is in Arabic, it doesn't mean that the ta in Arabic, because Arabs, when they talk, in some words, they use ta. So it doesn't mean ta is uniquely used by Arabs. Germans, when they talk, there are some words they use, they have to say ta. So if you have a script that is ta, it means that we make a sound that is also ta. We make sounds like ka, we make sounds like ba, we make sounds like fa. So the script has characters for those sounds we make. So and our sounds are in three categories. We make one group of sounds called consonants. We make another group of sounds called vowels. Then and for Ngo, we have a unique sound that is called tether. It's in the middle between vowels and consonants. So if your understanding of it being copied from Arabic is based on the sound that you hear in Arabic, ba and ba, then it means that the Arabs, because the Arab script, the writing system that the Arabs currently use, it was brought to Arabia 20 years. It was brought to Mecca 20 years before the birth of the Prophet, the Islamic Prophet, may peace be upon him. So that script was not invented by the Arabs themselves. They took another script and modified it to suit their tonality, to suit their language. So they did a modification because all scripts are being used to transcribe sounds. So those sounds are not unique to one group of people. So the fact that our ancestors in Egypt and in Ethiopia, a lot of people wrote down scripts, and in the Gear script, you have sounds like ba, you have sounds like ka, you have sounds like wa. So if someone says it's Arabic because you have wa in Arabic and you also have wa in Go, then the person does not, then the person should just stop every word in their language that has to do with what they should stop using.
And then like what I put up here, which is a verse from the Islamic holy book, the Quran.
Yes, that's the
here. I believe there should be Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening.
Yes.
So here it is written in Arabic on my right, and then here it is written in Ngo, in Mandingo language using the Ngo script. So the writings actually don't look alike. The only similarity I see here is that they are connected at the base. The letters are joined at the base of in order to make a sentence or write a word. So the Arabic alphabet characters are joined at the base, and the Ngo alphabet are also connected or joined at the base, not from the top. So that is the only similarity I see. Other than that, the alphabet absolutely don't look alike at all, because here you don't have any character here that resembles an Arabic character or alphabet. These characters are unique, even though some of them, you see few of them that look like Roman alphabet, but they are even their orientation look quite different. So there's a lot of difference here. I see that is very, very unique. But I don't know why some people think it's a copy of the Arabic. And another thing, again, I heard that people said because it's written from right to left, so which is the way the Arab do their orientation with their writing. So they fail to realize that the Meroitic script, the ancient Egyptian script are written from right to left. These are very ancient African script. the hieroglyphic is actually read from right to left. Okay.
Wow.
That is the orientation. Even the hieratic, another script that were used by the ancient Egyptian scholar, left to right. So Arabs, even they are just late in the game. They just copy it. This is the way the ancient African actually wrote. They wrote from left because it's the brain. Because the way you write, if people are using mostly the left side of their brain, that is the way they write. The people are using mostly the right side of their brain. So the way the African used to think, their orientation was from right to left. So that's how the Meroitic script is. That's how the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic is. Even though the hieroglyphics, sometimes they can do it 3 ways. You can read it up and down. You can read it right level. Mostly it's from the right to the left. So it's not an Arab thing at all. I just wanted to add that.
That's very important. That's a very important addition. And just to reinforce that point, there is a history behind every single character of that script. Wow. There is an interpretation. In fact, there's a whole book he wrote. There's a whole book, in fact, not written by him, but by one of his students, Baba Madi Jane, Dr. Baba Madi Jane, who is now the most senior professor on Go. He teaches at the Cairo University in Egypt. He wrote a book, The Philosophy Behind the Letters. So when you look at words when you look at letters like Ba, for example, I know all of the letters have the origin and how they were carved. But the ones I really remember, Hende. I readily remember the one for Ba. Ba was designed from the kitchen. When in Mandingo, when the women cooking in the kitchen, they use three racks. They will put one in a triangular form. So usually that the mothers can cook. So the mothers will cook and they will use three stones or 3 racks. They set a pot over it. So he just designed Ba from the kitchen. So interestingly, kitchen is also called Ba in Mandingo. Kitchen is called Ba, and the letter Ba came from the kitchen. And when you turn Ba upside down, you get Ma. And Ma, to spell mothers, you have to use the letter Ma. So when you turn Ba upside down, when you turn it right side up, it's Ba. When you turn it upside down, it's Ma.
Wow.
So Ma, the mothers are the ones who are in the kitchen cooking. So Ma, to spell mother, you have to use the letter Ma. Now Ba is the letter for kitchen. So it was a very scientific process to determine the letters, how to carve the letters. Then when you look at Nya was designed from the eye. So you look at Nya has a hole in the center. Then it has a line going above, the hole like this, a bending like this. So Nya was developed from the eye, the structure of the eye and the line going above your head like this, above the eyebrow. So and it was captured just from the eye. And to spell Nya, to spell eye, Nya, you use the same Nya to spell eye. So
basically, he used it's almost the inspiration is so unique, like the hieroglyphics. Like he used human body parts.
Yes,
he used nature things around him. He also used cultural motifs, things that they were used in that were unique to the culture. So he picked up these things. I think Suleiman Kante was a great scientist, in my view, because this is what we call science, to find definitive solution or to practical problem. He saw a problem that his people are not able to leave the legacy, because most of the history we have today in Mande that are based on folklores and legends, sometimes we argue. If there were written books at that time, by now we won't have this argument. Because all we'll do, we'll go to the library and pick up these sources, and there will be a lot of scientific information, record of history of our culture that we would have inherited. So what he has done here, he has saved the future generation. He has saved the future generation, because we now have the responsibility to read in an African language, live our culture, our folklores, our way of life, our values, our scientific understanding, investigation, and leave them in print, and our children can pick them up tomorrow and then further our research and add upon where we've left it, because they already have a foundation. They don't need to begin somewhere again. So I believe you have done a great work. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we have one more question or two for our brother here, and then we will wrap it up. So let's take a short break here, Brother Kamara. Then when we come back, I still have some questions for you that our audience would like to know more about this alphabet. You can say something very quick before I get, because these things are arranged in a way. Okay, I got it. I got it.
Okay, so
hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Sorry, we have some glitches there. The network seems to be very bad. We are discussing here the Ngo script. In studio with me is our special guest, Brother Sidiki Kamara, all the way from Liberia. And we are discussing this very topic, the Ngo script, an important script invented by an African, Suleiman Kante from Guinea. And this script has done a lot of work. It has been improved greatly by a lot of professors, and people are saying it's going to be the future of African writing and literature. And that's why we are discussing it today. And Brother Kamara has given a lot of historical background and how this alphabet has been formed and what it has achieved so far. So, Brother Kamara, here's a question for you. What major texts have been translated so far? Because one of the way you test a written script is like you try to find other books, important literature in the world and translate them. If you are successfully able to do that, for example, when the machine was first printed, the first thing the European did was to print the Bible, okay? Because it was the major literature in Europe at the time, coming out of the Middle Ages. And then next to that were the Greeks writing the literature from Aristotle, Plato, all these Greek literature. They translated them to the European language of the time and printed them. Because remember, most of those books, I would just check that in most of those books then were written in Arabic and in some other languages. So Europeans just came out of dark ages. They now want to reclaim their legacy. They were forming their own writings. So they translated back some of this literature from Arabic back to the European languages. And then when the printing started, they first printed the Bible. Those to show that's the sign that you have moved from one phase into another. So since the Ngo has been alphabet have been invented, what major texts have been translated so far? And then after translation, they've been verified that they have been properly translated.
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. Just before I get to your question, there are two quick things I want to clear. One is the orientation of the Ngo script. You talked about the orientation. That was very brilliant. That you gave historical justification. You try to connect it with our Asian ancestors and how they also had the same orientation, the same direction. In the case of Ngo, it was a very scientific process. After the invention of the script, Suleiman Kante wanted to know which direction the script should go. So he chose to do an assessment, a survey across Mandingo. He will leave from one part of Mandingo to another area. When you see someone who has not written, he said he only wants people who have never written anything in their life. So if you met someone who has written Arabic before or who's a student of Arabic or French, you'll say, no, you're not part of the survey. I only want those who have not written anything before. So he collected so many people who have not written anything before and told them to just write anything on the ground. They'll say, but I have not written, I'm not a student, I have not written before. He said, yeah, you are the right candidate for this survey. I just want you to write anything on the ground. So of all the people he surveyed, more than 75 to 80% of them wrote from right to left. That's why he put the script direction from right to left. So it was a scientific decision. He didn't just decide that the script would go from right to left. According to him, in his own book, that when he invented the script, he wanted the script to be something that would be easier for his people. So he needed to know what is their subconscious direction if they were people who were writing. So he wanted to do the survey with people who are not written before. So to pull out the subconscious instinct in terms of writing orientation. That's how he chose that direction.
Brilliant.
The last thing that I wanted to clear that was on my mind was the letter Fa. The letter Fa is used to spell Fali. Fali is a donkey. In Mandingo, people used to use their donkey to transport their goods from one place to another. So when you see how Fa is written a donkey. So you see a donkey, just show the screen, you see Fa. So Fa, he chose Fa from donkey. He wanted to design a donkey to look the Fa. So he managed to design a donkey. The only thing he didn't put, there's no leg. As, like the donkey is squatting or is not standing because the legs not shown. The legs are not shown. So let's look for Fa. Okay, you see Fa there? The one that looks like it and twisting like this. So Fa is designed for a donkey. The only thing, the donkey is resting and the legs are not shown. So you see the striking resemblance between Fa and a donkey. You see the head in front of it, you see the back on the side. So every character in here has a connection to something around him within his environment. He has a connection with something cultural, or something natural, or something related to the human body, like you said. So it was not stolen or not plagiarized for any way. It's based on everything here can be explained one by one. So now to your question, when the script was invented, one of the reasons for him, he said in his book, one of the reasons why many African scripts did not survive, because the writing, either the writing that was done in them were lost, or those that invented those scripts did not write more books in those scripts to preserve, to keep them for generations to come. So the business he was doing, the money he had raised in the business, the cola nut business he was doing, the money he had generated, he left everything in his life and spent all his income on gold. He went from place to place. He went from Ivory Coast to Mali and spent a few years in Mali teaching people. He himself was teaching people his script. He spent a few years in Mali teaching, and his students would write all the books that he would write. They would write it by hand and use it. He would leave and go to the diamond mines and other places and teach people. Some of his students would go to Sierra Leone and come to Liberia and other places. So he himself wrote 183 books. And among the books he wrote a dictionary, a lexicon. And the dictionary had 32,500 words. That is very important because the first English dictionary had less than 3,000 words. The first English dictionary had less than 3,000 words. Specifically, it was around 2,750 or thereabout. So he wrote a dictionary, putting all the Mandingo words together. He wrote a dictionary for 32,500 words. That was very significant. He also translated the Quran because he knew that, because he said he gave 3 reasons why he invented the script. Number 1, so that our history can be written by we ourselves, so that we write our history accurately using our own script, a script that can accommodate the tonality of African languages and transcribe our languages appropriately. So he said the invention will help to write our history accurately, because other people who were writing our history, they were not accurate with our history. They were not accurate with the accounts they were giving. The second thing was the religion. Majority of the Mandingo people are Muslims. So he said the script will help clarify a lot of concepts, a lot of complicated concepts in the religion. It will help them understand the religion better instead of practicing the religion in a language that they don't understand. So this is why he translated the entire Quran into Mandingo, into Ngo, so that people can read the Quran and understand the message of the Quran. He also translated several hadiths in Ngo. He also wrote a book called Slamaya Nyalonjuna, which means the easier way to understand Islam. Then he also wrote another religious book called Slamaya Saint Ben Chila Tundama. Tunda is the respectable way for calling the leg. Ordinarily, you call the leg Sing. You call the human leg Sing. But for a big person, you not say Sing, you say Tunda. For an honorable person, you not say kono, because kono is stumble. For an honorable person, you not say kono, you say deve. For an honorable person, you not say kun, you say salah. You know, so those kind of things. So he wrote a book, Slama Simbe Chila Tundama. The Muslims should walk in the path of the Prophet. So he wrote several books, I think about 38 books on religion. I think 40 some on 40 some on history, 30 some on religion, 40 some on history, and other books on our cultural issues, and you know, sociology. Like he wrote a book on sociology called De la Fe Natienko. He said the negative things in a society, things that cause tension among people living in society, and how to address them. So it's a sociological book called De la Fe Natienko. I listened to a program in Mali the last time. They were reading that book from start to finish, and they were saying that someone was saying that probably that's the most important book because it's very, very rich. And any one of his books you read, you feel like it's the most important one he ever wrote. So he wrote out of books. He wrote out of books on our culture. He wrote a history of the Ghana Empire. He wrote a history of the Mande Empire. He wrote a history of the Wasudi Empire, the history of Ghana, how the Asantis left from Ghana to present-day Ivory Coast. He wrote a history of the Wolof people, the history of the Soninke. He wrote a history of Liberia, the history of the Mende people in Sierra Leone, the history of the Vai people in Liberia. He wrote so many histories. So then he wrote exclusive history about Mandin Dofo. Then he wrote something called Kurufaba. In Kurufaba, he wrote the African history and the history of all the different kingdoms and warrior factions. So many other important books he wrote. And I'm even having.
Here's another question for you, brother. You know, this is interesting. You know, this man, if Africa was not in a colonial system, if we were not people who have been defeated culturally, been defeated spiritually, and been defeated scientifically, on all fronts, we are defeated people. If we were not defeated people, this man right now should be on the bookshelf of every African. He should be a talk of town in all universities. But unfortunately, the African looks for approval from the white man. As long as there is no approval from the white man, they have self-doubt. They doubt in the inspiration, the intelligence, the intellectual capacity of their fellow African. That's unfortunate. But here's the question for you. We live in a highly tribalized society today, unfortunately, and our educational system is making sure we remain tribalized. So someone will say, this is a Mandingo alphabet. First of all, it's called Ngo, which is the word to say I speak or I say in Mandingo. I say in Mandingo and many other language or dialect of the Mande group. But there are people who will say, but this alphabet is a Mandingo alphabet. You know, when they are reading the Roman, the English alphabet, they see the same alphabet in French, they see the same alphabet in Spanish, they see the same alphabet all around. They never ask such questions. They only see it as normal. But when they see this alphabet now, they say this is Mandingo alphabet. And knowing that this is a tribalized society, naturally there is that resentment already without even checking. That's a problem. It's a reality that we know about. You know, if it was the other way around, I believe it would be the same. If it was a Fula, it was in Grebo or Kran, also Mandingo would have seen it in that light. That's the reality of our society, the consciousness. Yeah. So I want you to clarify now, is this a Mandingo alphabet or is an alphabet period, or Pan-African alphabet or script that can be used to write any African language correctly? And why is it called Ngo?
Yeah, so that's a very important question. The first thing I want to say regarding that question is that what inspired the historical circumstances that I just explained that inspired the invention of Ngo, they were not directly targeting any Mandingo speaking person in particular. Kaman Marwa did not say the Mandingo people do not know how to write or they are like birds. So the attack was an African attack. It was an African attack that inspired the invention. Obviously, the invention was done for the whole Africa. And when you look at the script does not just, accommodate the tonality of African languages, for perfect transcription, but it can also transcribe all languages in the world. So I can use a script to write English, for example. When I'm writing something in English, I'm writing English, but I can use the Ngo script to write that English sentence sometime. Okay, so sometimes I will transliterate, sometimes I will choose to. So you can use it to write any sound. So Ngo is mainly care about the sound you are making, not the language that you're speaking. So if I write something in Ngo, for example, this is a student of Solomon Asante. He wrote a very interesting analysis about the relationship between Solomon Asante and Sekou Touré.
Bring it closer to the screen. Bring it closer to the screen.
I was reading it last night and I saw some very interesting details about Solomon Asante and Sekou Touré and Ahmed Sekou Touré, which I will conclude by adding. You see the picture of Sekou Touré?
Yeah, I see it.
You see Solomon Asante and some of the assistance Sekou Touré gave to Solomon Asante. And some of the fears you just expressed, Sekou Touré has similar fears. So I just answered the first component of the first portion of the question, which is the attack that inspired the invention of the script was not a Mandingo, was not directed to Mandingo. It was not a Mandingo directed attack. It was an African attack. So in response to that, the script was invented to write all African languages with their, diacritical, tonality, with their, different, sounds and everything. Because in African languages, the sound you make will determine the meaning of the word. It will determine the grammaticality of the sentence. So not only the meaning of the word, but the grammaticality of the sentence. For example, I just gave you a few examples earlier. Even the words, if you say kono and kono in Mandingo, they are not the same. When you say kono and ngono, they are not the same. So you can say the same. You use if I tell someone to read ba using the Latin script, they probably will read ba. If I say they should read ba, they will probably read ba. When I say you should read ba, they will probably read ba. Because for them, the sound I'm making, they don't care. They just ba. But in Go, ba and ba, they are not the same. So I can go about 4 different or 5 different ba in that way. So they all have different meanings. That's why the tonality is very important. That's what distinguishes this script from other scripts, because it accommodates that. You can be able to write, and I will read it. I know you're not talking about river, but you're talking about goat. I can know that you're not talking about Mr. Ba, like in a person's name, Ba. You're not talking about that Ba, you're talking about river. So, those things have to be distinguishable. With the Latin script, they are not distinguishable. With the Arabic script, they are not distinguishable. But Ngo brings those distinctions. So regarding the fear of it being a Mandingo script, that's a legitimate fear. That's a legitimate concern because of the ethnicity and the tribalism in our society. That's similar is because of similar fear that Sekou Touré could not give the kind of support that he's supposed to give to Ngo, because the Guinea national anthem was first composed in Ngo. Solomon Asante had taught people around, and luckily for him, he had taught a griot called Mahmoud Kande or Guinean griot. The griot had learned how to write Ngo because he didn't learn how to writing besides Ngo, so he used the Ngo script to write a song. So then this griot was one of Sekou Touré's griots. He was very close to Sekou Touré. So he sang this song always. So Sekou Touré asked that the song should be translated into French so that the others can learn it, or the students so the rest of the world can learn it, and that is how it was translated into French as Guinea's national anthem. So Sekou Touré asked him, how did you manage to write your own song? And the script I see you writing, it's not Latin that we know. He said, it's a script that was invented by one of your own countrymen called Solomon Asante. That's the script he taught me, and this is why I used to write this song. So Sekou Touré said, well, I would like to see this guy. That's how Amadou Kande arranged a meeting between Sekou Touré and Solomon Kante. So Solomon Kante went there with all his books that he had written. He was looking for opportunity to print them. There was a printing press at the time, Patrice Lumumba printing press. I think it was state operated. I think it was state run. Sekou Touré ordered immediately that they should allow Solomon Kante to print some of his books at the Patrice Lumumba printing press in Conakry. So he was the first one who actually helped to actually print some of the books into actual books as we know them to be. Besides that, he gave him 60,000, is it 6,000 or 60,000 franc CFA? Okay, he gave him 60,000 CFA. Sekou Touré gave him 60,000 CFA as his contribution. He said, this money may be small, but it's not something you can spend on something that you hate. Yeah, so that's the philosophical way he put it. He said it's small. He said, what do you mean door? What do you mean door? Me ate walile ibe me boy igbe Angola. So he said it's something. It looks small, but it's not something you can spend for something that you don't like. So he said he giving us his contribution, and also he helped the scholar. The scholar got sick. So Kante got sick, and he helped him to go to Romania for treatment. So Sekou Touré helped him to travel to Romania for treatment, and he came back. And I think it was Sekou Touré. Okay, I think there's some dispute about that. Some people say his own savings, he saved some money to go for Hajj, and others said that the president also helped him for him to go for Hajj. But whatever the case is, going for Hajj, you always have to have some money of your own. So the point is, Sekou Touré also expressed doubt, expressed heebie-jeebies. He expressed fear. So his heebie-jeebie was because of the fact that he's Mandingo, the inventor of the script is Mandingo. So he had nationalized it. It would have been interpreted as being tribalistic. And as a revolutionary, he says that should not be in your record. You shouldn't use your tribe. You shouldn't suppress other ethnic group. You shouldn't use your ethnic group to suppress other people. You should always fight for African liberation and African redemption. That's why he said all the people should learn their own languages. So that's very true. The script may be misconstrued by some people as a Mandingo script. It is not a Mandingo script. It's an African script. The reason he named Ngo is because of the same fear. Even within a Mandingo setting, you have different dialects of Mandingo. Mandingo is a language with different dialects. Some people estimate that it has 30 dialects. Some people say 40 dialects. Solomon Kante himself said there are 4 major dialects, and those dialects have smaller dialects under them. But recently, the Central Academy of Ngo has done a research. They said there are 7 major dialects of Ngo, and those 7 dialects have smaller dialects under them, culminating to about 40 different dialects. So Ngo has several dialects. So he has said Maninka, the speakers of the other dialects will feel that they're not part of it. I'm not even talking about other ethnic groups. So I'm just starting with Ngo demographic. So the other dialects will feel marginalized. So he named Ngo so that he can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Number 1, as an inventor of a script, your desire will always be for your people to master the script, because they are the first people you are interacting with. They are the first people of contact. So you try to use 1 stone to kill 2 birds. The script is called Ngo as a name, as a general. Just anyone could name anything. I can invent anything today and name it Sidiki. I could name it Sekou. I could name it, Manding. Like you can have a corporation and name it Futa Corporation, Manding Corporation, Sidiki Corporation. So in terms of name, he chose to name it Ngo. But that name is also strategic. The second benefit of that name is strategic, so that the Manding and Ngo speaking people don't divide themselves into the different dialects, so that they can look at it from the linguistical point of view, from the language standpoint, so that it can serve as a connecting tool to connect all the dialects of Ngo. Also, that does not mean that it's uniquely on Ngo script. It can only transcribe Ngo. No, it can transcribe any African language. When you read his books, you have no doubt his struggle was an African struggle. He wrote a lot of history on other African ethnic groups that I have not even, read in English. He wrote a lot of things on other people that have not. In fact, how the Asante left how the Baule people in Ivory Coast now, how they migrated from Ghana to come to Ivory Coast. That history, he wrote a long history about that, and they are not Ngo-speaking people. So
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brother Kamara, for giving that brilliant historical account there. And now we know that Ngo is not necessarily, quote unquote, Mandingo alphabet. Is an African script that can be used to write any African language. The sounds and syllables and other things that it transcribes perfectly suit African languages. In the field of linguistics, there are reasons why you have Indo-European languages, you have Asiatic languages, Semitic languages, you have the Mongolian tongue, which include the Chinese, the Korean, and all those people, Japanese. Then you have the Semitic, the Arabic, the Hebrew, and all those groups. Then you have the African tongue. In fact, there was an attempt to create Afro-Asiatic by Greenberg, who is a linguist, but African linguists have debunked that there is no such thing as Afro-Asiatic. It was a pure lie. African languages are unique, and they have no relationship whatsoever with Asians and Europeans. So the reason why African languages are grouped into one category is because there are certain similarities. It's because it's not just by accident that you group a language together. It's because there are similarities. The Cushitic language, the Niger-Congo language, the other language, if you put all of them together, you find out that we have a common dialect that is a common ancestral language that this language emanates from. So when we form an alphabet or a written script in one language, that script can be used to write other languages easily. An Italian can see an English word, he can pronounce it. If he has never been to an English school, he can't speak English. But if he sees a word in English, he will pronounce it. Why? Because it's the same script. He will be able to pronounce it, and then he will ask, what does it mean? Because it's not in Italian. But he can pronounce it because it's the same alphabet the Italian use. The same thing for the German words or the Spanish and all that. All of them are using this Latin alphabet with little modification, but they are saying the same thing. So that's what we want for Africa. We can have similar alphabet. Then we can now use that alphabet to write different languages, which is very possible. But the idea is you cannot be a civilized people that you don't have your own writing system. Always you will be reminded, your children will be reminded in school that the white man taught you how to write. They taught you how to clean yourself up. They taught you how to think. They taught you how to even rationalize things. That is a disgrace. You cannot have that for an entire race or for something billion, nearly 1.something billion people. We cannot accept that. So it's important for this generation to look at. We have to now move on. Colonialism is over. What stops us from forming our own writing system? What stops us from writing lexicon, dictionary in our languages? What stops us? There are new concepts being developed in science every day. What stops us from using our language to be able to explore the new field of sciences? Who have told you that the knowledge has come to an end? We have not even struck the surface. There's a lot to discover in this world. There's a lot to be invented in this world. So it's nothing like late or we come into the table late. No, we are even far ahead. Our ancestors have written all over the pyramids. So it is time for us to now take the bull by the horn, have our own writing system, be proud of it, not to say, oh, it's Mandingo. For me, when I see Ethiopian writing, I'm proud. I'm happy to read it. I don't care. It don't have to be in my mother tongue directly. If I see Igbo or Yoruba writing, I'm proud of it because I see that these languages, I still find myself identified in these cultures than finding myself in a European or Hebrew culture, which has nothing to do with me. But when I find myself in a Hausa culture, or Kran, or Grebo, or Kru culture, I feel that I'm still within my cultural context. I'm still within the African cultural universe. So that's what we need to look at it. So I thank you very much, my brother. I'm very grateful that you gave us this powerful historical narrative. And this Ngo script is important for me, really. I know one of your bad students, but I will try to come back to class and really learn. But let's say last question for you very quickly. What do you say to our brothers and sisters out there that are still reluctant, that why we need to learn this Ngo script, not just to the Mandingo community, but to all? Because the last time when we tried to do a class and I opened the Facebook page, I have people from Uganda, I have people from other Nigeria that were part of that class. Okay, so it wasn't an issue of Mandingo. So, but specifically to our community, then to Liberians, then to West Africans, or to any African out there listening, what do you say to them that those of them that are doubting, or they're saying, no, it's not important. Why do I need to learn some some difficult script? Let me digress a little bit before I allow you to answer. I work in a factory, so there are machines there. These machines, they are Chinese made, and there are these Chinese characters all over the machine. When I see it, I hold my head. I say, this is ridiculous. How do they even read these things? I mean, they look like chickens crashing somewhere, and the Chinese guys they don't speak English. This is Canada, okay? This is Canada, and this is an English-speaking country. But these machines, they have only Chinese inscriptions on it, and all the engineers working there are Chinese. They don't even speak good morning to you, okay? But they can operate this machine, and they understand these writings so well. And then I sat to myself, I said, look, these things that I call chicken scratches and what have you are actually the mother tongue of these people. So they learn their sciences from their mother breast until the grave. So they read everything within their cultural content. How beautiful it is that you can read and write in your language, and the alphabet is in your language. So right from your mother, you start learning scientific principles. But what is happening to us now is that we learn some type of informal education in our home. Then when we get to school, we have to denounce that. We have to denounce everything we learned from our parents and now pick up the white man culture. So we're having this conflict, the double consciousness that Du Bois, Du Bois is talking about, the double consciousness of the black man. We have one identity in our head that we will get from our families, our culture. Then we have another identity that is presented to us in the classroom. So these two identities, they are conflicting to each other. So we are not proud of who we are. So now I have to change my name to Moses and Johnson so that I look good. I have to speak Queen's English so that I look educated. Okay, when I speak only Grebo, Pele, or Bassa, then I'm damn country illiterate man. So if I can speak Queen's English, I can talk like some kind of Negropean. I call Negropean black people that behave like white people. Then they say, oh, the guy is educated. Who look at the grammar coming from? English does not determine your intellectual capacity at all.
Exactly.
Measure the level of intelligence. So, brother, what do you say to our brothers out there that are still doubting to learn the Ngo script?
I think you have said it all. There's nothing much I can add to that. You have said it all, and you can just imagine what I go through on a daily basis for promoting Ngo. Even yesterday, the past 2-3 days we're debating this thing. And some people will even attack you verbally that you're not serious. You don't know. Like someone will ask me. Someone said to me, what possessed you to really be so concerned about this script when you don't really need it? You went to school, you learn English, you speak English, you work at your job site. What you need to speak is English. The language you use is English. So why are you so concerned? Why are you bothered about this thing? So that's how someone just write it off. And some of my friends, very close friends, they say, I don't, they know me to be a busy man, but they just don't know how I managed to fit this whole thing in my schedule, and they feel that there's something wrong. Some of them really feel that there's something wrong for you to be compared. So they feel that something has to be wrong with you. Someone would attack you joking and say, man, something has to be wrong with you.
I agree, something is wrong with you. You have seen the light. Your consciousness is not within, your consciousness is out of their own box. So they don't get it.
So it's not an easy task. So what I usually tell them is that, I really understand what they're going through. When you're in an inescapable network of mental captivity, whatever you say there to somebody, the person should interpret it or understand you in the context of your captivity. So the reason I'm not offended by people rejecting this thing and people saying a lot of derogatory things, because I understand it in the context of their mental captivity. So when you liberate yourself mentally, you look like an idiot to people. For me, it's not an issue of whether I need it or I don't need it, or because someone can attach monetary value to it. What kind of work you do when you learn go, what you do this and that, all those kind of things. So life is not about earning money. It's not about, if not about earning income, there are a lot of rich people around the world. Education is not just about earning money. If education is about earning money, the most educated people today will be the richest. And there are a lot of dumb people, they have a lot of money. So education is about consciousness building and societal transformation, and trying to inject new conscious dynamism in your society to transform the way of thinking of people, the mentality of people, so that I think in a more progressive way. So that when people think progressively, you people can collectively build and transform your society for a better tomorrow. It's not just about you learning and earning money, but you think about posterity. What can we do to liberate ourselves so that our children are liberated, so that our children's children are liberated? Because, like you said, the best way to acquire knowledge is in your mother tongue. And that's why I like the translation of mother tongue in Go. To say mother tongue, the Ngo dictionary tell you Simikan. Simikan, which means the language you suck breast in. So that's the equivalence of mother tongue. So they will not say mother tongue literally, but the logic, the concept is Simikan, because Simikan was a word that people use that was a phrase that people use in Mandingo ordinarily. They say that was long before the whole Ngo thing. They say I will speak in my Simikan, in the language I suck breast in. So I will speak in my Simikan. And I like the fact that you are gesturing that the Chinese are doing all their things in the language that is sub-breast in you, trying to do similar gesture.
Right,
And that's right. My mind just went straight to the dictionary and the word Simikan, which is equivalent to mother tongue. So it's extremely important for your understanding. It's extremely important for even transmission, for teaching, for you to transfer information to your children and your community. When it's done in their native language, there's a rapid understanding. They understand it faster, they remember it longer, and they able to use it in a more sustainable way. But you communicate with them in a language they don't understand, they will manage to understand it for a short period of time, and it will not really stay, it will not sink in. So it's extremely important for us to take our languages seriously. It's difficult for me to convince more people, but it's a gradual process. That's why we have started the classes in Jacob time, Chicken Farm community, every Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 3. We teach in person. So initially we had, in fact, the attendance can fluctuate. We have 5 persons first, later we have 7, later we have 20, 25, later we have 4, sometimes we have 5. So we are oscillating between 25 to 5 and 6. Sometimes the attendance will increase up to 25, sometimes it will drop to 5 or 6. But we told the teacher that even if we have only a single student, we will not stop the class. The classes will have to continue.
Thank you very much, Brother Sidiki Kamara there, our great Karamo, in Liberia, doing the work, cultural activism, pushing our culture forward into the future. I'm really, really happy, brother. You should know that you have a lot of supporters out here. I'm one of them, and I really appreciate the work you are doing. It will pay off. Forget what they are saying. Those who have done, who have made significant changes in the life of humanity, were always overlooked. Sometimes they were called crazy. Sometimes they were called all sort of names. But eventually, time, the end justified the means, and time will always, prove you right. What we are doing here is very, very significant. Their generation, a lot of people might not understand, but they think that everything they see is on a platter of gold. They just see English people writing. They see scientific advancement in Europe. We've seen a lot of things going on. People invented cars, playing more automobiles. They think these things happen by miracles. They think there was a revelation that came down from the sky to make these people to invent it. No, it was step by step. It was people saying we need writing system. There were people who saying that, look, it's time for our language for us to improve our language. It's time now for us to do this. And they move gradually. Okay, in the European Renaissance age, The knowledge was only vegetating within the churches. Okay, other places, nothing, zero. People could not read and write. Some people took the step and they said, we have to translate these texts. We have to
look at the Chinese. Look at the Chinese, how they are advancing.
The Chinese writing is one of the worst. When you look at it, you don't even know where to begin. But don't joke with the Chinese. Okay? The Japanese, the Korean writing. Look at the Korean writing. They say they are all made based on the shape of your mouth. Any sound you make based on the shape of your mouth, they write it down. That's how they wrote their own alphabet.
Wow.
Okay? Every sound you make based on the shape of your mouth, they write down that symbol. That's how they form their own alphabet. Who stopped you, black men and women, that you cannot read and write in your mother tongue? That you must read in the Queen's English and Francais. If you don't speak them, then you are not educated. Who defined education? You see right behind me, the picture behind me, that's the legacy of African civilization. You see Mali Empire right in the middle there. You see the Oyo Empire of Nigeria. You see the Benin. You see the ancient Egypt. You see Kush. We have a lot to be proud of. And writing is very important. It's fundamental to any civilization. If you cannot write, you can't leave record. You can't be scientific. You have to be depending on folklore and legend. And you cannot do folklore. Science cannot go along with this folklore, because there is a time you have to write down formulas. You have to write down scientific theory for other generations to pick up. So you think we'll be doing this story under the tree? No, there has to be a time we should have dictionary. We should have places where we store books for our later generation to pick up. The ancient Egyptians used to call the library Per-A or Per-Mejad or Per-Ankh, the house of life.
Very soon I will share it. Very soon I will share the periodic table in Go with my Facebook audience. I'm working on translating the periodic table into English. I have the Go periodic table already. So very soon I will share with my Facebook audience, so you see that all the elements on the periodic table are in actual Mandingo. And yeah, you can construct a scientific formula entirely in Go.
That is the greatest gift we can give to our children, brother. Or we can leave them a writing system in their mother tongue. Those of the children we have here abroad, these children that we have here in America and other places, these children are supposed to be culturally alienated. They will be told your ancestors were bush people, they were hunter-gatherer, they were stupid people. We will have to clean them up. And these are the things we are used to, country people. But if they now can go back and read some of these folks, some of the philosophical idea and concept written in our language, in our own books, they can read them. Nobody will tell them anything. They can now tell you who they are. And that's the level we must reach. Now people telling us who we are. We should be able to tell people who we are. And writing system is fundamental. Every civilization that I know, the first breakthrough is writing system. Because language is the vehicle of culture. Language is the vehicle of culture, and culture is an expression of your civilization. So if you don't have language, you don't have a culture, you don't have a civilization, you cannot even do any scientific progress. Because what is the record that other people have to build on? Okay, the theories, all the scientific theory that we have today, theory of relativity, the theory of all these these things we are writing, and then other people build on them. They look at it and then they build on it, they disprove and then prove. But we cannot be doing that if we don't have our own writing system. We now have brothers and sisters going to China. They come back, they say, oh, we have to learn Chinese now. Those that went to Arab country, when they come back, they say, we have to learn Arabic. Those that learn English, when they come back, they say, we have to learn Queen's English. Country boy, why you can't speak English? So we have African Chinese, African French, African English. How many things you want to put in our head now? Okay? So we are saying we want to go back into African Africa. We are tired of thinking through another people. We are tired of seeing the world through the eyes of another people. My brother, if it is not for this writing, Mandingo today, if you ask my father the days of the week in Mandingo, he will start speaking Arabic. And when you tell him that it's not Mandingo, he will be angry with you.
Exactly.
There is nothing like Jumalo, Alemisalo, Arabalo, Talatalo. It's not Mandingo. But all the Africans will tell that you are speaking Mandingo. When they sing all the African Mandingo music today, they will say Dunia. Dunia is Arabic. We have nothing like Dunia in our language.
Exactly.
But how do we remove these things? if we don't learn. Today, through Suleiman Kante, we are able to know the actual vocabulary in our language. We are able to know some of these words, some of the idiomatic expression, what they mean. You cannot do that by learning another man's culture. So I thank you very much once again. Sorry for stealing your show, but just to add on, to tell you how happy I am for the work you are doing, and we really support you. And I hope the community will support you so this thing can go. Entire Africa will support you so that this thing can go beyond. It can be in our colleges, in our university. It has to begin with us, in our private schools, private lessons. This revolution will not wait for government, okay? This cultural revolution begin with us. Build our own private schools, private education. Every institution we build, we make sure that Ungo is rated all over the world. We are not going to wait for any African government, because African government, they are elite bourgeoisie that are being controlled by the West. They will never denounce the white man culture and his language. The moment they do that, they will lose power, so they will never. So we have to do the revolution in our community, revolution in our homes. When there is no alternative, then the system will fall and bow to our request.
Thank you very much, my brother. I appreciate the compliments, and thank you for your struggle too, and thank you for always supporting the Ngo Literacy Program. Let's keep in touch and find ways and means to advance the Ngo Literacy Program. But we intend to go to Kwadu Boni and initiate the teaching of Ngo in Bakedu and maybe some other towns in Kwadu Boni. So we're making those preparations, but I've been very busy. I will definitely find time. Maybe I have to take my leave, my annual leave, and we'll go to Kwadu Boni and start somebody. Maybe we'll initiate one class in Bakedu or another town. But it's certainly in the pipeline. We're working on it. We just need time and additional support to do that. So thank you for always being available to support the Ngo Literacy Program.
Thank you very much, brother. And that's it, folks. Thank you for watching from all over. And we are closing with our song. It has become a ritual for us to always play this song. We are all Liberians.
We are